So the answer is here. The color for the word text is going to be blue, because this CSS selector has the highest specificity. That's the ID selector, so it takes precedence over everything else. And this one right here is going to be orange, because the sum-class is a class selector signified by this dot right here, and the class selector takes precedence over the element selector. In other words, if we did not provide the class attribute and the ID attribute to our div and our span elements, then all the text would be colored red. I hope that's not too hard to grasp, and since this is a really brief and quick intro to HTML and CSS, I hope this example is pretty simple and you'll be able to remember it as you go along in this course. Okay, so advanced CSS targeting. If you want to target a class inside another class, it's usually a case of your HTML structure having some nested elements, some nested tags, and in this case we've got an article tag which wraps the section element or the section tag. And if you haven't seen these before, both the article and the section elements are belong to HTML5, and HTML5 introduced something called semantic elements, semantics being the science of the meaning of words. And basically what this does is it gives more meaning to our HTML structure. Before, this should have been just a div, opening and closing, wrapping div, and then the child div inside the parent div. But this way we give some more meaning to our HTML structure. So these are the semantic tags. Anyway, how are you going to target this bit of text right here? We are going to target the top-section class inside the article-wrap class. So we're going to do it this way. We're going to say dot article-wrap, then space, then dot top-section. So what this line says right here, this selector basically says in plain English, target the HTML tag that's got the class HTML attribute class of top-section, and it must also satisfy the condition to be a child of the article-wrap element, of the element that has a class of article-wrap. So this space signifies that this class is the child of this first class here. And if you want to target multiple classes on the same level, because that's also possible, for example here we've got a snippet that starts with article tag having the class of 1 and 2. So we've got two classes here, and these classes can be targeted separately in our CSS, or if we want to target this article and all the classes that are styling it, we could simply go do this. .1, .2. So notice we don't have space here, so that way we are targeting this first element, and then we are targeting the section, the first section right here. So this section has the class of 3, and it is a child of the HTML element that has classes of 1 and 2. So that's it right here. And if you look at how it works, this first CSS selector is targeting everything that is contained within this article tag, and this second selector is targeting only the section element, but it's not targeting the footer element. So in that case, the footer element is going to inherit everything from the article element. So the text in the footer element is going to also be red. But even though the text in the section element is going to also be red, its background only the background for the section element is going to be colored gray. Okay, so that leads us to CSS cascade and the box model. And CSS rules cascade down from the top. So basically, starting at the top of our HTML structure, all the rules that we provided are going to be used on the remaining elements in our HTML structure unless overridden. So here in our CSS we've got an HTML tag targeted in our CSS, and we are setting the color to red and margin to 0, and then later on down inside our HTML structure we've got the class target, the CSS class selector, and this class selector is targeting the some class section element, and it's setting the background color to gray. So that's it, pretty easy and simple. And now finally this leads us to the box model. So basically we've got content, and that's the text or the image, as basically two main kinds of content on web pages. We've also got video and some other things, but the most common ones are the text and the images. So you've got text, and that's what we call content. And then we've got padding, which is the area between the text and the border. So border comes third. And finally we've got the margin, which is invisible, but it gives us spacing between different HTML elements. So that's it. We've got content, padding, border, and margin as the outmost part of our box model. So each element in HTML should adhere to this kind of structure.